Okay, sir, you're a Lebowski, I'm a Lebowski. That's terrific. But I am very busy, as I imagine you are. What can I do for you, sir?
Well, sir, it's this rug I have. It really tied the room together.
You told Brandt on the phone, he told me. Where do I fit in?
Well, they were looking for you, these two guys.
I'll say it again. You told Brandt on the phone, he told me. I know what happened, yes, yes.
Oh, so you know that they were trying to piss on your rug?
Did I urinate on your rug?
You mean, did you personally come and pee on my rug?
Hello? Do you speak English, sir? Parla usted inglés? I'll ask you again. Did I urinate on your rug?
No, like I said, woo or peed on my rug.
I just want to understand this, sir. Every time a rug is micturated upon in this fair city, I have to compensate the person.
Come on, man. I'm not trying to scam anybody here. I'm just,
You're just looking for a handout like every other... Are you employed, Mr. Lebowski?
Well, wait, let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude. So that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
Are you employed, sir?
Employed?
You don't go out looking for a job dressed like that, do you? On a weekday?
Is this what day is this?
That was Jeff Bridges as the dude in the Coen Brothers' 1998 movie, The Big Lebowski. For years, many have come to admire the dude's humor and his wisdom. Bernie Glassman is one of those people. He is a Zen Buddhist Roshi, or teacher. He founded the Zen community of New York, which later became Zen Peacemakers on an international order of social activists. Bridges and Glassman are close friends. Their conversations are about some of life's best subjects: love, happiness, creativity, and, of course, the movies. They have now collaborated on a new book. It is called The Dude and the Zen Master. I'm pleased to have Jeff Bridges back and Bernie Glassman here at this table for the first time. So how does this come about?
I went to a dinner that was honoring Bernie and Ram Dass, the guy who wrote Be Here Now.
Right. So that's when the friendship started.
At that dinner, we got into good conversations, and then I think, if I remember right, I did a workshop with Krishna Das, and you came to the workshop.
That's right, yeah.
And then after that, we hung a little, and then we both liked to smoke cigars.
Yeah.
So we hung some more, smoked cigars, and started talking, and found that not only a great actor, but I really enjoyed hanging with him and rapping. That is, we talked about life in a good way, And here was a guy, I had met a lot of actors. Here was a guy, Jeff Bridges, who really was interested in a lot of serious stuff, and I've been working in that kind of
And so how did you go from there to a book?
Well, one day Bernie says to me, by the way, you know that in the Buddhist circles, the dude is considered a Zen master. Yeah. And I said, what are you talking about, man? He said, oh, yeah. I said, come on. The Coen brothers never mentioned anything about, any kind of spirituality or Zen or anything. And he says, well, there you go, the Coen brothers. Yes. The Coen brothers. I say, oh, come on. Meaning the Coens, Koans are from Japan. Is that a Japanese word? Koan?
Yeah, koan is a Japanese word. Of course, there's also a koan word that comes out of the whole Hebrew thing.
That's what you were saying.
The koan. But those are, it's one way of studying Zen. There's a whole system of study working with these koans, which are questions or statements that can't be answered intellectually. The first attempt is always to answer it intellectually. That's always our first attempt on anything. But in a Coen study, you have to answer them experientially. You have to present it as a living example of your life. Right. So...
what is the sound of one hand clapping is kind of the famous one.
So here you go from a friendship to a continuation of a conversation.
Yeah. And then he brings this thing up, and he says the Lebowski is riddled with koans for modern times. I say, what do you mean? He says, well, it's just like an example would be the dude abides, new has come to light, shut the stopped on me, you know. There's just a whole slew of them. And he says, what do you think about writing a book about this? And I said, oh, well, that could be kind of cool. It'd be a chance to hang out, and we go up to Montana and spend a few days, get my dear friend Alan Kozlowski to take some of these pictures and record the thing. And so that's what we did.
And stayed for how long? About a week?
About 5 days or so, something
and
like
just
that.
talked. And he recorded.
And just talked, yeah, and he recorded it,
But these 5 days came on the back of about 10 years of conversations.
Yeah.
So you distilled
and
it
a
down.
lot of cigars being smoked and talked about.
Yeah. The dedication is to all the hungry spirits. Who are the hungry spirits?
Oh,
Well, maybe I should do that one because
you
that sort of changed my life. I had started studying Zen in '58, so over 50 years. I had become a teacher maybe by 1970. In '76, I had an experience. I was working for McDonnell Douglas in California in the space industry. I was going to work in a carpool. And I had an experience of what I call the hungry spirits of the universe, thirsting and being hungry for things, power, money, fame, food, all kinds of thirst. And I had this experience that those hungry spirits were nothing but me. I was all of these. This is what we call the oneness of life. And immediately what came up is this: I need to work on feeding, trying to feed all of that. So I changed my
Feed all the hungry spirits.
Yeah. So I changed the venue of my work, which had been a Zen center, to society. So that was a big shift. Instead of working strictly for those who were coming to a Zen center to learn about Zen and all that kind of stuff, now I started to work in the world of business, in the world of social action, in the world of politics, in all of society. The venue shifted to the world. Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the concepts, starting with the dude abides.
That to me kind of goes in tandem with another koan in the book, which is the dude is not in.
Yes, we'll get to that one, but go ahead.
But they kind of go together in my mind. And the dude abides, well, where does he abide? He abides nowhere. He's not in. So therefore he abides everywhere. Right.
That's it?
That's my hit on it. How about you, Bern?
So let me unpack it maybe for
a wider
because
audience.
Many of us, right, all of us, I should say, abide somewhere. We abide in the liberal world, or the conservative world, or the Tea Party world, or I do a lot of work in the Middle East, in the Palestinian world, we abide in a world, which means that we shut everything else out. The dude abides, or abiding nowhere, or not being in, means that you're open to anything that's coming in. So even though you might still be working in those fields, now you're open to all the opinions, not being stuck to the opinions of the place you're abiding.
Hey, man.
Howdy do, dude.
I wondered if I'd see you again.
I wouldn't miss the semis. How things been going?
Oh, strikes and gutters, ups and downs.
Sure, I got you.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Well, take care, man. Gotta get back.
Sure. Take it easy, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I know that you will.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
The dude abides. I don't know about you, but I take comfort in that. It's good knowing he's out there, the dude, taking her easy for all us sinners. Shush.
Sam is so good, man.
One of the notions akin to the dude abides is the philosophic idea of suffering.
If the dude is abiding, that's in terms of Zen, suffering never goes away. We suffer because we have things we don't want, or we don't have things we want. whatever the situation, since it's going to change, the things that we want to hold on to them, and then things change. So there's that suffering. If the dude abides, if it's really abiding, then there's no attachment to anything, and you don't feel that suffering. That is, it's still there, but it's in that attachment that causes the breakdowns, the grief. The suffering can still cause pain. Pain will still be there. Sorrow will still be there. All those emotions are there. But if you're abiding, you know, something sad comes up and you're just crying, man. And it's, you know. So all of that is still there, but not the psychological pain that we inflict on ourselves of saying, why didn't it happen the way I expected it to happen? Why, you know, we don't call them attachments, but here's what I think I know, and it's not happening the way I know. Why is that going on? And we drive ourselves crazy. I would say that the release of suffering, as most people think about it, is to just abide, man, to be with it.
Back to the movie that we saw, the first clip we saw about the rug. The rug connected the room.
Yeah.
What's the concept out of that?
Yeah. Help me here, Bern. That's kind of a oneness, interconnectedness. You know,
the rug tied the room together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a Zen teacher, and the Zen Peacemakers is an interfaith order. So I have Dharma successors that are teaching Zen, that are Catholic priests, rabbis, sheikhs. Right. But in Buddhism, the word Buddha means to awaken. And then the question is, awaken to what? And it's awaken to the oneness of life, the interconnectedness of life. And so a lot of the training or the practicing is to try to have people experience what that interconnectedness is all about. Now, nowadays, our consciousness has evolved to where everybody knows we're all interconnected, but they may not have experienced it. Well, the rug that ties the room together, what is that rug? It's pinning down in the Zen terms, and that's why I like Lebowski. I could use these metaphors that are daily metaphors, but in the Buddhist language, what is that interconnectedness of life? You know.
The book is called The Dude and the Zen Master. What do you hope people will come away with?
You know, as you asked that question, I'm thinking the impetus to do the book it really didn't come out of like I want to
leave a message.
Leave a message. It was just hanging with my buddy, really. Yeah. And I guess maybe, you know, as I say that, maybe some of the secondary stuff was to turn folks on to Bernie's work, the Zen Peacemakers, right, and also the stuff that I'm involved in with hunger, No Kid Hungry, and that kind of stuff. You know, maybe turn folks on to Bernie. I mean, that's kind of you know, because I got off on what he's all about.
I have been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
All right, but let me apply this to as well the ideas, and help me, Bernie, to acting. How is all this applicable?
Yeah.
In terms of how you approach acting.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the things that later on I kind of learned, oh, that's kind of a Zen-ish type approach. I had those things before I really got into it.
Knew it was Zen.
Yeah, knew it was Zen. And a lot of that, you know, is from my father, you know, how he, you know, taught me when I was a kid, you know, working, you know, doing a part in Sea Hunt. You know, I was 8 years old. You know, he would talk about, you know, learning your lines and then being able to be kind of facile with it and actually create some kind of emptiness or openness in yourself. So when the person says a line, you're not waiting for his lips to stop before you say your line. You're letting what he's saying kind of affect you, and that determines how you go.
Respond.
And so respond. And so I find that you know, all these years, I kind of approach it the same way. I learn my lines. I figure out how I think would be an interesting way to do it. I think maybe 5 or 6 different ways to go, and then I show up for work. And I do my best to let all that stuff drop away and see what my bigger self, you know, the other actors, the director, the weather, how all that informs my thing, and just say, you know, that's, you know, sometimes I will say a prayer, you know, take me, you know, what you want me to do with me, man, you know.
But there's also a sense that if it's not exactly the way you might have imagined it,
Yeah.
you may do something to break the moment.
Oh yeah. I say yes. Yeah. Occasionally, I'll find. Bernie was talking about this suffering over suffering. Yeah. So sometimes, when you think about. You have I really liked the way I was preparing for that scene in my room, and now the director is really not there, and I'm kind of attached, man. I can feel it. So I'll have this impulse to do something that kind of breaks that attachment, where I have an impulse right now to show you. I'd go over there, I'd kiss you and mess up your hair and go over there and tweak your nipples, or I'd roll on the ground and just scream, or, do something that just kind of breaks the thing, and that helps. Yeah. That helps. One of the things, I just recently finished a film with Kevin Bacon, who I really enjoyed working with a lot. And there's a certain amount of
anxiety. You played a character that was dead, did you?
Yeah. It's a very weird. Yeah, very weird plot. Funny. It's a comedy. We play. Ryan Reynolds and I played two dead cops who were hunting dead people who were pretending to be alive. Right. Very bizarre. But, actors, you think, you've been doing this so long that you would kind of get over, anxiety about performing. But, I don't. There's a certain anxiety I have right here, talking with you, because we're kind of, doing something that, I want it to come out good.
And it's not scripted.
And it's not scripted. You don't know.
We don't know where it's going.
So Kevin,
I don't.
Kevin, but you never know. And why should there be tension? But I can just notice it in myself, kind of a little tiny. So we're doing a scene. It was a particularly big scene, but it was one of the first scenes that I was doing with Kevin. And he looks at me and looks at the other actors, and he says, "Remember, everything depends on this." Which is totally, ridiculous, and that kind of like lightens it up. Yeah. But at the same time, it has another little English on that ball that, he's right. Everything does depend on just this moment. What are we doing right now? That's what's significant.
Were you a friend of Werner Erhard?
No. I did the S training kind of when it first came out, before it had any sort of negative PR. It has kind of some people kind of have negative thoughts about it. And then I got involved maybe a couple of years after I did the training. I went to something that a forum that he had called the Hunger Project. Right. And it was fascinating. It was all about ending world hunger. And he presented all the facts about hunger, how terrible and how prevalent it is in our world, and how it's not a matter of not having enough food, not having enough money, or not knowing how. We know how to do it. The country's been ended. It's about creating the political will. Right. And of course, the politicians, they're supposed to represent us. So what are you willing to do now that you know what the facts are? Are you willing to, you want to just kind of numb it, go back to sleep, or you want to do something, and not just something, a gesture that'll scratch your guilt itch, but something that kind of fits in with your life that you can sustain,
A kind of commitment?
Yeah, a commitment that works in naturally what you naturally do. And so I helped create an organization called the End Hunger Network, all about working with the media and saying, well, the media must have some role in ending hunger.
You went to political conventions too, didn't you?
Well, now since then, this is like we're talking maybe 30 years ago. Right. And about maybe 15 years ago, I kind of shifted from world hunger to hunger here in America, because some of our safety nets had holes in it, and people were hunger was really a terrible thing, and so I shifted to hunger here. And about 2 years ago, I met this guy, Billy Shore, who is a great book. Has he ever been on the show?
Yes,
oh, he's so great.
He's a really committed activist. Used to work with Gary Hart.
Yes, right. Share Our Strength.
Right.
And he has a campaign called No Kid Hungry that I'm the national spokesperson for. And it's all about going from state to state, working with governors to make sure that all the kids in their state have food, and hunger it's basically a poverty issue. You know, that's what really causes it. You know, but childhood hunger, that's something that is not as complex as poverty. It's a good kind of handle to grab onto to deal with a larger problem.
Malnutrition can have pervasive effects on health and future development.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah, and you know, and our national security, you know, and how we're going to compete in the world, and so. I've, you know, like you say, I went to both conventions, the Republican convention and the Democrat convention, and I'm happy to say that the chairman of both the Democratic governors and the Republican governors are both of their states. They're on board. Governor McDonald from Virginia and
Bob McDonald
and O'Malley from Maryland. Yeah, they're both. On it, so I wanted to
Republican and Democrat.
Republican and Democrat. So I wanted to go to both conventions and, you know, celebrate the guys who are on board and trying to get more guys on board to take advantage of this over $1 billion of federal funding that's available to states. Many states aren't even aware of it, to help feed the kids in their state.
What is the power of Zen?
The power of Zen. Can I do it as an example?
Yeah.
I'm Bernie, and I don't even have to think about it. Bernie knows that without knowing, it's not a question of knowing, all the fingers, the hands, the head, it's all connected. It's all one thing. Imagine that this hand had some kind of illness and thought it was separate and gave itself a name. It's Joe. This hand, same thing. It's Mary. Now Joe gets gashed and blood is pouring out, and Mary looks at Joe and says, "Oh, look, there's blood pouring out. I should do something about it." But maybe not. Maybe I'll get sued. I don't know anything about medical stuff. I never trained, and in fact, I'm wearing a new dress. I might get all bloody. So Mary walks away. Joe bleeds to death. Bernie dies. Mary dies. Imagine you have an experience in which Mary and Joe sort of disappear. It's all one thing. It's all about Bernie. The hand is gashed. Now this hand just does whatever it can, does the best it can to do something. It doesn't walk away. It takes care. Now, if there's hunger, the hands don't fight over who is going to get the merit of feeding Bernie who's hungry. Now, whichever hand is closer picks up food and feeds. It takes care. So the power of Zen, you just now project that further. I meet a homeless person in the street. It's not me. So I cross the street. I don't want to see that. You know, I don't want to see that kind of suffering or whatever. If that becomes me, if the experience of Zen, if you experience that oneness, now I can't cross the street. I say hello. I say, how are you? I do whatever. I do the best I can. Maybe giving money, but that's not important. What's the most important thing? To give love. To love that. So that can keep going and going. And now that's the power of Zen. Imagine if we as a country felt that way. We'd be taking care of everything without, to the best we can. Doesn't mean we can solve the things, but we would be doing the best we can instead of denying it, arguing about it, keeping to our own positions, you know. That's the power of Zen, that interconnectedness. It's the rug that ties the room together. That's the power.
I think we now got it. We have it. The book's called The Dude and the Zen Master. The Dude is with us. The Zen Master is with us. Bernie Glassman and Jeff Bridges. Thank you, my friend. Great to see you again.
Hanging with you, Chad.